everyone, I'm Natalie. Welcome back to my channel. I post medicine and lifestyle related videos, and in today's video I will be talking about studying medicine in China. And this is because a lot of people ask me on a daily basis about studying medicine in China, how to come, what to expect, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there is going to be a new intake of medical students coming in September, so I thought why not do the video now and give people time to prepare themselves and all the good stuff. I've kind of categorized everything I want to talk about into different parts, and so I'll just get right into it. So obviously the most frequently asked question when it comes to studying medicine in China is about the universities themselves, like which university to go to, how to choose university, how to know which university is right for you, and all that. So the first thing you need to know about studying medicine in China and coming to China in general is that there are thousands of universities here, and in order to choose one, you do have to be a bit cautious because some of them are legit and obviously some of them aren't, just like any other place. But there's a list of universities that are approved by the Ministry of Education here in China to teach international students medicine in English, and you can also check the World Health Organization's Directory of Medical Schools and the IMED. I will leave a link to all these lists in the description box. So basically the students that go to these universities listed on this list are eligible to write all the different board exams like the USLME, the PLAB, MCI, and all those. Also, the schools that are approved by the Ministry of Education here have their own requirements apart from what the World Health Organization and all these other organizations require from medical schools in general. So the Ministry of Education in China also requires some universities to teach Chinese language as part of the curriculum. Why? So that you're able to learn Chinese to speak to your patients in the hospital when you're doing your practicals, and also so that you can pass your Chinese proficiency exam, which is the HSK 汉语水平考试. So what that basically means is that every student is required to pass a certain level of HSK, the Chinese proficiency exam, before they can be eligible to graduate. So that means you must take this exam and pass it before you get your degree. And if you don't pass it, you won't get your degree. You'll end up graduating with a certificate instead of actually graduating with a degree. But that's not something to worry about because, like I said, you are required to take Chinese language classes as part of your curriculum. So you'll find that Chinese language is actually part of your timetable. You'll have anatomy and all those, and you also have Chinese. But in most schools you only do it for I think maybe a year or two, and then you can continue with your studies. And in some universities they do Chinese all the way from first year to fifth year. So yeah, that's pretty much it about what you need to know about how to choose your Chinese university. Basically what you need to know is if the more requirements a university has for you to enter their degree program and to pass their degree program, the better the university is, and the less requirements they need from you, the worse the university. So naturally you'd want to go to university that is of high standard and high caliber and all that. So yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about is the Chinese medical education system itself, and this kind of follows the British medical education system in that they offer the same degree program, MBBS, which is Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery. And yeah, in the MBBS program for Chinese students is 5 years, so they do 5 years of school and graduate and start their residency program, of which their residency program is about 3 to 5 years, and after completing that they then are eligible to get the national licensing. But for international students it's 6 years. That means the 5 years are school, and the 6th year for international students is basically like an internship here, and you can do it wherever you want. You can go back home, you can stay in China, you can go to another country of your choice. It's all up to you, as long as you complete 48 to 52 weeks of clerkship. So you're basically attached to a hospital anywhere in the world, and you shadow doctors and pretty much do your internship and clerkship, whatever you want to call it. And then you complete that, you come back, you write your graduation exams, and you get your degree. The third thing I want to discuss is kind of the difference between Chinese medicine, and traditional Chinese medicine. So a lot of people get confused when they hear that you're doing Chinese medicine or medicine in Chinese or traditional Chinese medicine. But basically, when you come to China, you can either do medicine in English or medicine in Chinese. A lot of students choose to come and do medicine in Chinese, and what that means is that they're basically getting the same degree, but they're learning it, they're being taught in Chinese instead of English. So it's a Chinese taught program, not an English taught degree program. And I wouldn't advise you to do that if you're not very good at languages, because medicine is hard itself, and doing it in a foreign language will just make it even more difficult. And but a lot of people do get scholarships and are allowed to study it for free if they do it in Chinese, and so a lot of people opt to come and study medicine in Chinese. And traditional Chinese medicine is basically like acupuncture, moxibustion, and different kinds of Chinese traditional theories and skills and practices that are incorporated into medicine, and this is actually taught as part of the MBBS program in most universities. And so it doesn't mean that when you come to China you're just going to be studying traditional Chinese medicine. No, it's part of the MBBS program itself. You can do traditional Chinese medicine on its own as a degree, but you can probably only practice that in China, so that's not very wise if you don't plan on living in China forever. So the academic year in China is divided into 2 semesters, from September to January and from February to July. That means that every semester has about 20 weeks, and the curriculum is spread out across these 20 weeks. So like I already said, for international students you'll be studying for 5 years, and then the 6th year you will just be in the hospital. And so the curriculum is spread over these 5 years, and the first year is basically the basics of medicine, like calculus, chemistry, anatomy, histology, all those simple subjects. And from 2nd year you start to build up. 3rd year you start going to the hospital alongside your theory classes and your lectures. And 4th year you get more hospital time, and 5th year obviously even more hospital time, until 6th year when it's only hospital. The next thing I want to talk about is Chinese hospitals. So Chinese hospitals are very similar to what you see on TV, like Grey's Anatomy and all that, but the difference is that they are much bigger. Chinese hospitals are very big. Depending on your city, obviously, the bigger your city, the bigger your hospitals are going to be, and the more hospitals you're actually going to have. And most universities have 1 or 2 hospitals affiliated to the university, so you'll actually be taught by the doctors from those hospitals, and when you go to the hospital you're going to those affiliated hospitals, although some universities don't have affiliated hospitals, and so they just send their students to any of the hospitals in that city. My university has 2 affiliated hospitals, and those are the 2 hospitals we kind of rotate and go to. So like I said, the hospitals are very big naturally, because China is a big country with a large population, and so a large population means a large number of sick people. A large number of sick people means a big hospital, and they have lots of resources. This is one thing I really like about studying medicine in China, that the resources and the doctors are quite innovative, and they're very advanced in terms of like medical technology and all that. The one important thing to note about doing medicine in China is that when you go to the hospital, you're meeting Chinese patients, and Chinese patients speak Chinese language. So it's important for you to learn Chinese when you still have the chance. For example, I learned Chinese in my first 2 years of medical school, and that was that. The 3rd year was just medical Chinese, like Chinese that's used in the hospitals and all that. And if I hadn't mastered that Chinese, I would probably struggle to interact with patients in the hospital, because the patients don't speak English, if any. Like, they'll probably know how to say hello, but even if you respond how are you, they don't know how to answer you. So it's quite important for you to learn Chinese, that you're able to interact and communicate with your patients, because there's nothing worse than going to the hospital and the doctor telling you, your attending doctor asks you, okay, ask this patient for his medical history, and you're totally blank, you don't know what to say. So it also gives you a better experience of actually learning the medicine, because it's one thing to learn from what your teachers and your doctors are telling you, and it's another thing to actually learn by hearing the patient himself speak and you thinking, okay, what does this mean to me? Because some things get lost in translation. When the doctor translates for you, some things might just be skipped over, whereas if you actually understood what the patient was saying himself or herself, you would have picked up some other things that maybe got lost in translation. So the next thing I want to talk about is the tuition. In China, tuition varies a lot. There's universities that are 18,000 RMB and the universities that cost 50,000 RMB for tuition. So it's just up to you and your budget, and also the standard of the school, like what are you looking for and what are you okay with and all that. And as for scholarships, the Chinese government offers a lot of scholarships for different reasons. Some people have 100% scholarship, some people have half, some people have just a fraction. And there are also university scholarships. Like each university has its own kind of scholarships that they give to different kind of students for different reasons, and so it's just up to you to decide which university you want to go to and see if the Chinese government will sponsor you or if the university can offer you any financial aid in any way. And there's also, most universities also have class scholarships, which mean at the end of every academic year they assess your performance, your academic performance, your extracurricular activities, and give you a scholarship if you meet their requirements. And they give this to about maybe 20% of the class, so quite a number of people end up with some amount of money. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is like the teaching and the courses themselves. So obviously the courses become harder and harder the higher you go, so you'll find that there are some courses that will be easier for you and some that will be very challenging, and some will be more demanding and some will be less demanding, and some will be more exciting and some will be very boring and like a drag in general. Yeah, and as for the teachers, you'll find that some teachers have a better English proficiency than the others, and so the ones that are less the ones that are not that good at English, you just need to ask them more questions and pay attention a bit more so that you understand what's going on. Some teachers will baby you, and some teachers won't even care about you. Some teachers will kind of expect a lot from you and ask you questions and give you assignments and push you and be strict. And the other teachers won't even give you any assignment from the start to the finish of the course. So it's up to you to challenge yourself and push yourself and work, because they're expecting you to be an adult, like the adult that you are supposed to be. So they won't really push you because they're thinking that you're dealing with an adult. And so it's up to you really to push yourself. I actually find myself preferring the teachers that are strict because they make me work. It's kind of hard to force yourself to work, but when you have to, when you have no choice, then it's just easier to do. Some teachers will be intimidated by the fact that they have to teach English speakers something in English, and so it's up to you to just, be nice to the teacher and ask him or her questions and make her feel welcome and comfortable and all that. And some people will argue this and say, no, they're a teacher, they're supposed to be able to teach and they shouldn't be overwhelmed by the but what happens a lot of the times is that in the hospital, some of the attending doctors that are supposed to come and teach end up being called away for surgeries and all kinds of things, so they end up sending any other random doctor in that same department to come and teach you, and that doctor will just come with the PPT and the lecture notes and be completely overwhelmed and not know what to do. So situations like that will happen, but on the most part it's all very manageable and all very normal. As for the academic system, the pass mark in China is 60%. That means that if you get 59%, if you get 59.5, if you get 59.99999, you have failed. You need to get 60% or 60.1 and above to have passed your exam. And so if you fail a course, you have the option of writing a makeup of the exam at the beginning of the next semester, and even if you get 100% in that makeup exam, your final score still becomes a 60. And if you fail the makeup exam, you have to retake the subject completely, that means you have to pay again for all the credits. So if it's a 2-credit course, you don't pay as much, but if it's a 5-credit course, you pay a lot more. So there's also a credit system, and how this works is each course has a different number of credits. For example, like this past semester, infectious diseases had 2 or 3 credits, and internal medicine 2 had 5 or 6 credits, and surgery had like 5 credits. So obviously the more challenging a course is, the higher the number of credits it has, and the less challenging the course is, the less number of credits it has. And so the combination of your credits and your scores from your final exams all go and contribute towards your final GPA. So the lower the scores you're getting when you're studying, the lower your GPA will be. And yeah, the last things that you guys need to know about China in general are that China is very huge, very large. They have a large population. The country is big itself, and there's a lot of differences, cultural differences, differences in food, differences in the languages spoken in China from province to province. I think that's quite exciting because you learn a lot each time you travel, and with each place you go, you learn something new about the place, and you see how different it is. There's very nice scenic places in the mountains. There's very nice beaches and resorts. There's very nice cities that are very metropolitan and very nice and urban. And there's also quite a lot of rural areas as well. So it's just, there's a balance of all the kinds of, so it's just up to you to decide what kind of place you want to be in and choose a university accordingly. And it goes without saying that China has one of the largest economies in the world, and they're very advanced technologically. So that's something that's very exciting, because China is very quickly becoming a superpower in the world. And so there really is no better time to be in China than now. And yeah, so these are the things that you should consider before deciding to study medicine in China. The most important thing to decide on is the university to go to, obviously, and you need to take into consideration all the other factors that I spoke about, and that will help you make an informed decision and choose your university wisely. I was kind of tired of repeating the same answers to the same questions all the time, so I thought, why not do a video on it? And so yeah, I'll leave links to all the lists I talked about, and I'll leave all the other information in the description box for you guys to check out. So that's all I had to say. I hope this video was informative and helped answer all the questions that you guys might have had, and also clarify all the concerns that you guys had, as well as the queries and all that. If there's something that you still want me to talk about or add on, or you have a question that I didn't kind of answer in this video, then leave a comment in the comment section, or you can add me on my social media, and I will most certainly respond and get back to you. In the meantime, subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.